If it's crossed 55, headed into Hodgkins, then it's likely going to cross 55 again where it gets to Summit. So there you go. Latest update on the radar. This is probably, if not definitely, since they've seen a tornado on the ground. Just visually from what I'm seeing here, even in the velocity data, you can tell. Look at these greens that are packed right next into bright, bright reds, and it's gone past the reds and into the yellow contour. So this is certainly a very tight, very low-level rotation, and I cannot overstate enough. This is not play around time, Doppler radar saying maybe there's some spin in the atmosphere. This is tornado on the ground, dangerous, life-threatening situation right near and just west of Summit. So this is going to cross 55 again. It's the evening drive. If you have any friends or relatives that are driving out of Chicago right now and trying to get back to Burr Ridge, or anybody who has to pass Midway Airport, tell them right now to stop, get off the highway, and possibly turn around if they're headed out of the city, out in that direction. If you have folks or friends who are maybe coming into the city right now to enjoy the evening and they haven't made it to Hodgkins just yet, or to Burr Ridge, again, that's that big curve in 55 as you're headed in from the west, and you can actually kind of see Chicago off in the distance before you curve there, and 294 is that left exit that's out there on 55. So if they're getting to that point or around that point, or you're just vaguely aware of what I'm talking about, then you know exactly where you need to be taking shelter, and they should not be heading any more east than that right now. As we continue to watch, this scan by scan comes in every about 2 minutes worth. We get another scan. I'm going to kind of step off to the side just a little bit so I can look at the freshest data as this moves in. But Cheryl, this is certainly very concerning to me as we see that very strong rotation uplift going on, and I believe that there's going to be a new tornado warning for Central Cook County. Is that true? And just yet, as this tornado continues to make its way off to the east, can you give me any details on that?
Yep, it is just coming in right now, and now we have a confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado on the ground right now. This is a dangerous situation, so you need to get in your warrant or your safety zone, lowest level of your home, basement possible. If you don't have a basement, you want to be on the lowest level of your home, away from walls and windows. We are now getting an update that a confirmed extremely large tornado is on the ground, and we are seeing evidence of that. This is velocity mode, so we can clearly see the spin here, and this is what we're looking at. So now this is just passing 12 there to the north of Hodgkins and Summit, just along I-55, just to the north. But if you are in this area and out ahead of this storm, this is when you need to get to your safe place immediately. This is a dangerous situation. I know that we have storm spotters out in the field as well, and I'm seeing some images come in of that tornado touching down as well. So this is going to be crossing over 171-34. There's Stickney, there's 43, there's I-55. This is the intersection here where we're seeing the potential of some damage out of this with the confirmed dangerous large tornado on the ground. Trying to keep up with all of the updates here. It's moving to the north and east at about 30 miles per hour. So for those of you out ahead of this storm, get ahead of it. Get to your safe spot. Summit 622. Right now, you need to be downstairs in the basement, away from walls and windows. Far you getting closer to you in just the next couple of minutes. And Stickney at 625. This is also just to the north of Midway right now. So again, this is impacting a lot of people. We have a lot of homes, a lot of people probably traveling right. You know of anyone that's about to head out in this vicinity? Not. Stay home. Midway, likely. Sirens are going off as well. Everyone getting to the tornado seek shelter zones in the airport, likely being very close to this. I know there's a lot of alerts coming in right now. Let me switch over to radar. So here's a look at the warning coming in that has been extended with that considerable damage tag. So again, the firm large tornado touching down. Out ahead of it, we have to be prepared. From Wrigley Field down to Chicago, now in that tornado warn zone, stretching off just to the south of the city as well. So what we're looking at here, just to the south of Brookfield, Cicero, out ahead of this storm. We're going to zoom in closer. We're going to get you street level because we need to get you prepared, of you in the zone. Joliet Road here, Stick Forest View. This is heading in your direction. 47th Street, Ogden Ave. If this looks familiar, if you're hearing your name, if you're hearing your city, get to that safe spot. Out ahead of it, taking you a little bit farther to the east, there's I-55 crossing over 50 there. Cicero, you're in this warn zone. Irwin likely just off to the north again with the rotation in the atmosphere. These storms could wobble just a bit. So that's why we do have that large area of this warned zone with this storm. We have a lot more as well. Across the area, a new tornado warning, which we're going to continue to stay on all of this to continue to keep you up. Come in now. Kane County as well. This one until 45. So Elgin, just to the north of Campton Hills, finding some spin here this warning, which will be in effect for the next about 20-25 minutes. Right now, that big concern, the tornado touchdown. I'm seeing a lot of new updates coming in. What are you seeing? What are you hearing latest on this?
Seeing and hearing, and that is a very strong and extreme situation that's unfolding for us here along the I-55 corridor. Cheryl mentioned this does not very good on the radar screen, so I'm going to keep it in velocity mode and also keep this on the very strong, violent tornado right now on the ground. It's not just radar indicated. We are seeing every single indication being on the ground of destroying things on the ground, lofting them into the air, and those are being picked up by the radar. Again, this is out near Midway now, but it is marching right down Interstate 55, and it is doing so at a painstakingly slow 30 miles per hour, rush hour flow, making its way down the highway. And I cannot overstate what Cheryl said. Have folks that want to travel on 55, that do travel on 55, this is the evening commute. It is time to tell them to not go on the highway. If they are in Chicago, they need to hang out at work, they need to go to a safe spot and work. This is headed towards the city. If you're off to the west of this morning, hopefully you're in a safe area. You should not head into this warning box going on. You should not go into this warning box right now, specifically along the I-55 corridor, because this isn't just another storm. This is a storm that has been confirmed on the ground, producing destruction as we speak. Right now, just the Cicero cannot catch a break. Of course, they had the flash flooding of under a week. More flooding, too, over the rains that have been the last couple of rounds. And now that tornado is sitting just north. Remember how I said it was near the sanitary canal on 55? That's exactly what it is. So there's the canal, right? Dug to reverse the flow of the Chicago River. It's next to 55. I'm sure you've seen it 100 times. There's like some quarry over there, some industrial stuff that's over as you pay Midway. That is where the tornado is right now. If you got off the exit, you headed north, kind of where Ogden 34 ends out there, then you'd be right underneath the center of this. If you are in Cicero, if you're anywhere in Cicero, if you are in Oak Park, if you're anywhere around Chicago, you should be down into your safe area right now. Easiest thing to do is turn your TV up as high as it can go if you don't have that in your safe space, and go there. We are going to stay on the air until this does finally make its way out over Lake Michigan, because this is showing no signs of slowing down. Again, the 55 corridor is the biggest concern that there's side of the highway. Mac Road, Roosevelt Road is probably a pretty good one too. I don't know if that one's showing up. There's Cermak. Okay, there's Roosevelt. Yeah, so Roosevelt Road, Cermak Road, Cermak, I'm sorry, Cermak, I'm getting ahead of myself. Cicero as well, West 31st Street, all streets that we've driven on before. These are the spots that are going to be of the most concern in about the next 5 or 10 minutes. The good thing about this is that it is moving incredibly slow. Of course, that right now. But the good news is that we have plenty of lead time for areas that are off to the east. Again, looking at some new warnings that are coming in, I'm seeing trees down, house damage at Algonquin and Reed. That's out in Huntley, so for western cells out there. And these are all stuff for the western tornado. Mop up that warning here in a couple of seconds for Cook County. I want to spread out here and show you what we have going on just for warnings that are across the viewing area right now, so you kind of get an idea of how quickly, if you were with us at 4 o'clock, we had some action that was out near Dubuque, Iowa, crossing the Mississippi River. Some action that we said, okay, this is definitely going to do something. This warning here that's back out off to the west. I'm aware you can't see my cursor, so let me just go ahead and highlight that. They're going to expire probably this morning. We're likely going to keep this warning going all the way to Chicago. And as Cheryl said, this goes all the way up to Wrigleyville. These storms, when they're this strong, they're this self-contained, they like to wiggle a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if it is a 55 now, but then it wiggles a little bit up to the north, and all of a sudden it jumps up to the so if you're along the Ike, the central exit on the Eisenhower, the Stevenson for that matter, you are going to want to go ahead and go to your safe spots now from Oak Park all the way up to the east and into Chicago. Back up that view just a little bit. Go out in the area. Your not severe warning. Your tornado goes until 6:45, so you got about 15 minutes left on that. And we are also watching a cell that was out in Elgin, and your Elgin warning probably goes until about the same time. Yeah, 6:45 there. Again, if you are in now, you're just hearing about this tornado warning that is out for the city of Chicago, including that. This goes until 7 o'clock. At the very least, on the air until 7 o'clock, covering this as it makes its way through the city of Chicago. And I can hear NWS chat going off in my ear. I know the updates are coming in fast from the National Weather. Cheryl, do you have any other reports that you can pass along at this time?
Because we have a few tornado warnings on the map right now, but the one in Cook County is the one that we're continuing to monitor closely. We still clearly have a signal here on velocity that we're still showing signs of some very strong rotation, and this is on top of stick right now. There is I-55, so just to the right now, and as Greg mentioned, riding just up to the north and east along that canal. So Cicero, you are just out of this, and you can come on in, and as we can see some of these streets that this is about to cross over, South Central Avenue, we have Pearl Road here, West 35th Street. Again, off to the north and east, it's about 25 to 30 miles per hour, but no signs of this, which is truly impressive. So it is holding on to its structure, and thankfully we do have velocity help find spin in the atmosphere. Radar scans not show much, and there may not be heavy downpours or torrential rain with this, but what we're finding is that thunderstorm that developed, that shower activity that continued to intensify, picking up on the spin, and that's because we have so much wind shear and the low levels of the atmosphere at ground level. So as the storms and showers continue to form, they quickly pick up the volatile wind environment, and that's wind shifting in from different directions at different rates, which allows the storms to twist and spin, and rotation is definitely evident. So keeping up with the latest, we do have this tornado warning that's in effect for Cook County, and this will be in effect here until 7 p.m. Anyone in this pink area, in this cone, in this orange zone, you need to stay with us. We're going to keep you updated as the storm continues to pass off east, but we also have other tornado warnings on the map. So let's take you back to where we are right now, but the one in Cook County, definitely a concern. There have been reports of a dangerous confirmed tornado on the ground. I believe we just got a new now. This is going to be parts for northern Cook County as well. As you can see, Bloomingdale in the zone here as well. So let's get the latest. This one in effect for the state page now, in effect until 7 p.m. well. So as I take off, this is the new warned zone out ahead of that spin that we were tracking, moving through Elgin and South, pushing to the east, Bartlett, Bloomingdale, Carroll Stream, Schaumburg in the zone, as well as Wayne. So we're finding the rotation here. This is radar indicated as of right now. Storm spotters out there finding funnels. Looking at the chat, just wanted to get with you information coming in, so I don't want to miss anything as I'm talking about radar. So what are you seeing at this moment?
It's honestly unbelievable, because we do have so many active warnings right now. We've got too many colleges and 4 warnings that are going at this point here. So now the newest warning, which you just saw flashing on the screen behind me, for northern DuPage County, and also and western portions of Cook County, kind of a little appendage up there around the Palatine, Bartlett, Schaumburg type. So I'll zoom into that in just a second. And if we can take that camera, let me know, because I take that at just about any time. It looks like, though, I was just checking our live camera. There's McCook Reservoir. Remember I was talking about the Chicago Canal? There's a reservoir there that has a camera that is looking right now off to the east. And what I can see on that camera is the wall cloud from this storm, and there is not a tornado on the bottom of the wall cloud, at least from my view right now. Okay, so pop me up on there with it, and if you could, that'd be some TV magic. But you see that right there, kind of move the cursor over towards the middle. Yeah, right there. Yeah, very clearly that's the wall cloud. That's been rotating. We've been watching that. The kind of came down from that for a brief period, but that is still being watched very closely. Again, this isn't high enough of a resolution to not know that there is some spin at the ground, but it looks like for the time being, visual of that, that the tornado is no longer on the ground. So I'm going to continue that because it is a very high view. I'm going to take you back to the weather. Computers here off to the side. Take it to the maps, and we're going to talk about this warning. Now in northern DuPage County and southern and western portion of Cook County, this one now goes until 7 o'clock. And we'll zoom on in for the radar for you here as I put off of this storm that's moving down. Zoom down to northern portion of DuPage County. So again, this warning, this is until 7 o'clock. I'm going to put the area on the board and draw it out. Again, we're covering a bunch of tornadoes at once here, a bunch of tornado warnings at least. And I remember I mentioned Schaumburg and Palatine and those types of areas, and Bartlett too mentioned. Well, here you go. About 6:30 is when, so right now that's over Bartlett. So if you're in Bartlett, you need to be in your safe space at this point. Carroll Stream will give you a little bit of an advance warning. You have about 10 minutes to get to your safe spot. Schaumburg, you have about 20 minutes to get to your safe spot, or I'm sorry, 15 minutes to get to your safe spot. And Glendale Heights too at 6:51. Again, this goes until 7 o'clock. So we're watching this continue to move off to the east. See that warning that's back off to the west of that one? That's likely going to be expired. So if you look, that would be Kendall County. Looks like you're in the clear, at least from that warning for the time being. But right now we are tracking this cell, which is over northern DuPage County and southern Cook County. I'm going to clear everything off of the board that I just put on. And I'm going to put up the velocity just to see if I can see out on the first any rotation that I can. Be back here. So we're going to give you a cell that was moving down I-55. If you live in Bartlett, you need to take your safe space now, especially if you live on Bartlett Road. I've been on that road, Schaumburg Road too. You're going to have to go ahead and take your safe to your safe space right now. Out in the way, Schaumburg Road 2. This makes its way down not only US 20 but also 1958 and all the area within about the next half hour that you have to take shelter in. Then we head a little bit farther off to the north, and there's more rotation. Zurich, this warning just getting issued. You can kind of see it flashing on the map right now. So I'll put that data off and we'll get the latest on it because you're learning about it at the same time I am. And this one also goes until 7 o'clock in the evening. And this is for kind of the north side of Barrington, kind of where the Motorworks dealership, and then making its way out off to the east. So this goes until 7 o'clock in the evening as we'll name some roads down the street level on this hill. Also, if you're on route, you're underneath this warning at 7 o'clock. So, warnings that are in northern DuPage County, 7 warnings that are out in extreme western portions, southwestern portions of Cook County, and then warnings that are in now Lake County way too. This warning that's out for Cary, this that's out for Elgin, these are likely to be expired and dropped off the board. So if you listen, you took rather your safe space out in like the Huntley area or Cary or out in Elgin, you can now start to emerge from that here as we watch these storms continue to march out off the east. I want to take another look because, of course, we're watching very closely that storm that's moving towards Chicago, and it does still look like there's honestly looks a lot better than it did before. And Cheryl, if you're saying anything in National Weather Service chat, then go ahead and pop in and let me know. But as I even look from that McCook OR camera, even though it's moved off into the distance, that does look a lot. Still, though, from they still have that warning that is out into Chicago until why is that? Again, as we learned from the sample, this was the same one that very briefly during the 5 o'clock hour, shortly after 30, brought the warning to southern DuPage. And then we watched this so we continue to watch here this moving, and there you go. That's alive in the city. You're looking past the Sears Tower. The wall cloud from the system. Can I get over there? I can't, obviously, because there's a box in the way. But that is the that is the wall cloud that we're watching from this, and it's blocked, unfortunately, by the Sears Tower, but by all indications, not seeing any debris at the ground. It looks like that rotating wall cloud is moving. You can see it rotating right in front of your eyes. It does not have a tornado attached to itself. We can watch that. We need to continue to watch it. I see people walking around the streets of Chicago right now. It probably shouldn't be out there as this makes its way down, because, again, as we know, this can drop a tornado at any point. It just did it out near Cicero. It did it in Naperville, too, and it can do it again before it finally moves safely out over Lake Michigan. So really need to stay vigilant. It's going to be a wild sight that you see coming into Chicago in the next couple of minutes. It reminds me of the last time that we saw something like this, where the rotation was directly over near here, and we can see it on our cameras too. Thankfully out already over the well. From Chicago to the north side, Wrigley to the south side as well, past the Sock, you still need to be watching this. And as I pull up National Weather Service chat just to get the latest stuff, getting closer to needing a tornado warning for Cook County near Homer Glen, Emily Park. Not there yet and close. So yeah, so we're watching a storm out Homer Glen too. And Cheryl's, of course, watching all of these on the radar and keeping up to date with those. We also have a tornado warning, a new one. That one just came out for southwestern Lake County, which we talked about up off to the north. Spread out the view. So there's 5 warnings that are on the board right now: Cary, Campton Hills, Bloomingdale, the one up around Bartow and Palatine, and the one that's just off Wheeling, and the one for Chicago. Ones that we're watching most closely are these 3. It looks like Cary and Campton Hills are now in the clear. So Cheryl, if you have anything else on that cell that's moving closer to Chicago, yes, let me know. But it looks better on our sky cams, but still, I mean, it's not every day you see a wall cloud over the Chicago, very close.
No, and reports of tornado touchdowns with the cell moving into Cook County. So this is just an impressive situation and setup, and monitoring this throughout the afternoon and evening, and we really saw the atmosphere and the environment really start to stabilize after the first round of rain and storms that moved. But like Greg mentioned, we're not seeing that tight circulation that we were just about 15-20 minutes ago in the Chicago area. With that said, we were showing you that ominous view of Willis Tower, and a wall cloud still not out of the realm of possibilities, but the tornado that was on the ground definitely has weakened. However, if you are under the warning, we still want you to stay in your safe place, because what happens with the frontal boundary latch across our area, these storms will latch onto the front. They'll drop a tornado, 1 or 2 tornadoes. I'm seeing reports of twin tornado touchdowns in parts of the area as well, because there is so much spin with the showers and storms that are developing, and they can then decrease in intensity. That storm will basically fizzle out, and then it will bubble back up again with the potential of producing more spin. So there's so many updates coming in at this point in time, and as you can see, we still have a bunch of warnings on the map. We're now showing you the live view there. Definitely seeing some downpours approaching the city right now. This is a crazy ominous view. What I am noticing, though, not tornado touchdown, but still very dark. I guess I should go this way with you all. And you can see just the very ominous skies back in the background. We have those lower clouds. That's where we're finding some very heavy rain coming down, and also keep a close eye. Any lowering of the cloud structures that allow for a spin, a lowering of a cloud or a tornado. Not a question. Track just for a second and go over all of these warnings that we see on the map. So on your county we've been talking about, and it has a history of producing tornadoes. This is in effect until 7 p.m. So for the next 20 minutes, you got to stay with us here from Wrigley Field down to the city. I just want to switch over to velocity quick on this, because something that we've been looking at closely with this storm, because it was there's been also a possibility here of some weak hail and some strong winds coming in with this storm. So still finding rotation here, and there you can see spin still picking up on some just south of the city right now, but moving over as it heads to the east. So back to where we go, because we still have a lot of warnings on the map. And for those of you up in Lake, tornado warning, this is going to remain in effect until 7 p.m. as well. Radar indicated touchdown or indicated tornado potential here, but definitely some storms been seeing the possibility of a tornado touchdown in this area, and this is right around Lake Zurich, and you can see over towards Long Grove, Vernon Hills. You're in this warning until 7 p.m. Again, all of these shower storms that are developing out there tonight, the possibility of dropping a tornado within seconds, it's not of the question. That's how much spin we have in an atmosphere. These extremely strong supercell thunderstorms that are developed here, and that just goes to show that spin in the lowest level of the atmosphere right along the ground is allowing for these showers and storms to spin and drop tornadoes. That cloud height not high. So here we go into the next warning. We have you can see Hanover, Schaumburg, this pushing out of the Elgin area. This warning in effect until 7 p.m. as well. Pretty much all of the warnings we have in our map right now will remain in effect for the next 15 to 20 minutes. And we'll see if anything is extended past that. At this time, I will not be surprised. More warnings as these storms continue to migrate off to Schaumburg for the Bloomingdale right now, and there are reports of tornado touchdowns very close towards the Elgin area, and where that storm moved out of Kane County. So right along 20 here, and just to this now of 90. It's about crossover 290 here. And that will continue its way off to the east, Schaumburg down towards Bloomingdale. We're finding the intense rains, also the possibility here of that rotation happening. So I do want to switch over to velocity and take a quick look at what we're finding here in parts of Lake County. At the state boundary, green, a little bit of a couplet. This is what we're going to look at to find that spin. So this is that up in Lake County, Lake Zurich, South Old Rand there. Cuba Road, this will continue to the east right along 22, Long Grove Road. If you're hearing your names or your streets or your neighborhood or a road out ahead or a city that you're close to, it's time to get your safe place and stay in it and stay with us. These warnings will be out ahead as we continue to monitor this. These are moving at about 25-30 miles per hour, so they're not moving all that quickly. So you have to think about standing on a street corner and a car driving by you at 25-30 miles per hour. Some of storms that are tracked about 50-60 miles per hour. That's not the case with these. They're not that fast moving, but Long Grove at 6:48 as we track this in the next couple of minutes. Vernon Hills at 6:50 here, and still finding that couple of rotation within this warning zone. Buffalo Grove at 6:53, and this will continue to the east here. A lot that we continue to monitor because we're going to take a step back here with the National Weather Service. Tornado now on the east side of Streamwood. So Greg, confirmed tornado. I am going to send it over to you. Where we're seeing this one now.
So that's out kind of like around the Streamwood Schaumburg type area, and you can see kind of brighter colors. I've changed radars from the one that radars from the one that Cheryl was using, just because it kind of brightens up the colors a little bit, but bouncing between the two is pretty good because of different angles. So this will be just off to the west of Schaumburg, kind of here's their rotation, and then there's that other rotation just out near Wooddale and Roselle that we're also watching. Now this tornado warning goes until 7 o'clock in the evening, and I do want to say that the National Weather Service has given the all clear for Boone, McHenry, DeKalb, LaSalle, Kendall, and Grundy counties too. And we're also watching that weak rotation as it makes its way over Chicago now, but the good news is that it's just rotation. It's over. Well, I just saw it on our shed camera, kind of Hyde Park, South Tinley Park, but it looks like in about 2 or 3 minutes that's going to be out of the lake, so we're not so worried about that anymore. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put on the warnings that we have at this time, spreading out the view and showing you those warnings. Again, we have the one that is still active for Chicago. I expect that to expire within the next couple of minutes, as it just that has now moved out. Ones now. There's a difference in color. It's subtle, but you'll probably notice it here with the iron box. This one has a pink border around it. That's a PDS warning, particularly dangerous, I can't say that word right now, situation. That is because the tornado has been spotted on the ground. That's for the Schaumburg area. It's for Bloomingdale. If you live out in southwestern portions, or I guess just extreme western portions of Cook County, kind of where it goes over and hugs DuPage County a little bit, this is for you. You need to be in your safe spot right now for at least the next 15 to 20 or so minutes. We're going to zoom back in. I'm going to put on that velocity data again so I can see exactly the rotation is so I give you accurate streets. So here it is, as clear as day to me as I zoom in. So Weathersfield Way, if you're along that, then you're going to have to go ahead and go to your safe spot. And that extends all the way to, looks like the south side of town through Schaumburg, all the way up to Roselle Road. So if you're anywhere along there, this rotation is about directly down Weathersfield. You got to get up north and south. If you're vaguely familiar with where that road is, then that is going to be the area that you're going to have to take shelter at this time. You can also see how the rotation kind of jumps around a little bit too. Now the brightest greens are there, right next to the reds that are just south again of Weathersfield Road, just north of Wise Road. Hanover Park, hopefully in your safe spot too. I'm going to move this a little bit farther off to the east and spread out the view again so we can give some other spots up. But Medina, Roselle too, Lawrence Avenue out in Roselle, Central Avenue out near Roselle, and then also, of course, we mentioned that road. Wise Road, as it extends all the way out to about 290, is also a spot that you're going to have to keep an eye on. And again, if you're in that area, you need to go to your safe spot. Really anywhere in the box. He extends down to Carroll Stream and Glendale. You've seen anything from the last about hour or so that we've been on. It's that these tornadoes can very quickly spin up. They can spin up in different spots. They can go away and come back. And that all ties to how much instability is in the atmosphere. And we're not completely out of the woods just yet, because even though most of us here have already tornado out off to the west, we still have a decent portion of the viewing area, including northwest Indiana, that's in that tornado watch until 10 o'clock. So if you are in our viewing area, you still do need to keep a very close heads up on what's going on. As I spread the view towards Wooddale and Elk Grove and Mountain Prospect, you can still see very clearly on the radar. You're getting another little rain in the Addison Wheat area. That is tornado. Importantly, I want you to be worried about at that point. Okay, from Hills, and that is very clear to our western counties. That is very clearly a tornado that was on the ground out there around Campton Hill. And see how very quickly that extends down wall cloud and to the ground. And yeah, there's debris in there. That's the debris signature that we've been seeing on radar. And there you go, puffs of debris that gets pulled up from it too. You can even see kind of some chunks. As that, this out in Kane County, and that is a perfect example of how the lower levels of the atmosphere are right now. When we saw these storms just forming out there around Dubuque, Iowa, we knew that there was enough low-level shear that if we happened to get updrafts into thunderstorms very quickly as they came off the ground, they would get an aggressive spin as they made their way up into the wall cloud, and that is just textbook. Right there in terms of a tornado on the ground as I'm looking off to a monitor off to the side. I know I'm not looking directly at the thing. But I want to go back to our radar screen and talk about what we have on board. So we have got chopped up a little bit, perhaps extended. So same time, 7 o'clock for our extreme northern portion there. That's the one that just popped on. So Elk Grove is where we're going to go and change our view down here. From Schaumburg down to Elk Grove, you just into the warning too, as you extending this. This is that storm that we just saw that was on the video. So this is now for the 355. So you go up 355 to Lombard, as you hit 290 around Elk Grove, as you're in Addison to 290 all the way out here off to the west, almost to Melrose Park. This is the area now that is under new concern. This tornado warning, I'm going to guess until 7:15 or maybe even 7:30 out ahead of this. Okay, so 7:15. So 15 minutes to that 7 o'clock warning as we take a look at the new rotation from this. And as I look over, multiple circulations are with this confirmed tornado in Glendale Heights as seen on radar. So, as I mentioned, multiple circulations, and that's why you can't just count on the one that you see at the moment on the velocity data for being the circulation that you need to be the most concerned about. So I'm going to turn back on that velocity. We're going back here on the sweeping radar. And Cheryl, if you have anything new to share, go right ahead in terms of damage reports or anything of the like, because of course we're tracking all of those as they start to stream in behind these storms. So I'm turning off a couple of radars. I'm going to switch over to our own live Doppler 7 Max because I think that might have the best view of this from a velocity standpoint. And yeah, you can very clearly tell that on the screen we've got rotation right now, Glendale Heights. So I'm going to zoom back in now that we've kind of got it pinpointed. Crossing 355 pretty soon, a street name It looks like 64 out there for sure. St. Charles Road, North Glen Ellen, the area of North Glen Ellen Heights, St. Charles Road. But remember, there's multiple circulations. This is just the one that's showing up the best on Doppler radar when you have so much. If you're in this box, safe spots. Now, if you live out in Niles or Park, then you're probably going to want to monitor this very closely. Another cell, this get warned all the way through the north side of Chicago, so we just had the south loop rotation move overhead. So continuing to watch this, the tornado warning effect for southern Lake County, east of Lake Zurich, still indicated with this one. We haven't really had any confirmed spots to the north, out near Long Grove, although that circulation is pretty good out in the Long Grove area. So giving jump off to the north, Vernon Hills, your tornado warning until 7 o'clock. So about 5 or so minutes left on that. Getting spotter reports. Trees uprooted, roofs blown off near Joliet Road and LaGrange Road. That was out in Cook County. And we're almost ready, not quite, but almost ready to give the all clear for the evening for King counties, for Will counties, and for Kankakee counties too, as it looks like the back edge of the storm continues to move to the Chicago area, rather Cheryl. And we're tracking really 2 storms. That's concerned, but probably about 5 circuits within those that we're really watching very closely, especially the one that's just off the Cheryl.
Yeah, we can clearly see and define where we're finding the circulation where we are getting the confirmed rotation, reducing wall clouds and tornadoes out of the showers and storms. But what really is so impressive with the tornado zone, we have so little notches with showers and storms here that are moving through. There is just so much spin in low levels of the atmosphere. We cannot stress that enough, but we're getting reports right now of a rotating wall cloud in Lombard looking north. We can clearly see where we're finding the potential here of a tornado touchdown that could be imminent in this area. And this is coming from an area and out of County where confirmed tornadoes did touch down. So in this area, you really need to stay in a safe place. Right now, this is right around Glendale Heights. There you can see that bright reflectivity here, the velocity picking up on that spin. It's just minutes away from cross 355, and it's going to continue to the east. So now just north of North Glen and South Addison, and Addison, you're out of this as well as Wood. This is a large zone. Within this tornado zone, there's a possibility of more circulation, and up to the north, right around Itasca, finding some bright reflectivities here with velocity, indicating the increase in wind speed, and again, the possibility of spin. You can see all of these little notches going down with this line of rain and storms moving on through. And there have been showing you some video of some really rapidly intensifying tornadoes at ground level with these showers and storms. These aren't exactly extreme storms that are up to about 40, 50, 60,000 feet in the sky. What we're finding is that they're pretty picking up on that ground circulation and that spin, and these showers are really just getting active as they have been over the past couple of hours. The coming in right now with this tornado warning that in effect, you can see from Schaumburg over to Elk Grove, Addison, and Lombard. Everyone in this region, warning is in effect until 7:15, so we have 15 more minutes with this warning here. Won't be surprised if it is extended a little bit farther to the east, but we are seeing a lot of action within this zone, and we're also going to get a new warning that's going to come in for northern Cook County downstream of D going to the lakeshore. That is still finding, again, those showers and storms in the area that are producing or possibly producing. And we still do have this warning that is in effect for parts of Lake County, and we could still find some weak rotation here south of Vernon Hills, between Vernon Hills and Long Grove, pushing off to the east, and we'll see if we get another warning. So just backtrack here, take you off of velocity modes, you can see a clear picture of the activity we have on the map right now. And what we're finding here is from Lake County into northern Cook, stretching back towards has been an active night in this region, and we're not done yet. We have to wait until this round off to the east. But Greg just mentioned this back to the west is where we are finding the basically from McHenry back towards DeKalb. But we have to stay on top of the action and the activity right now because tornadoes touching down. We're not in the clear. We're not out of the woods, and we're not going to be until at least 7:30, 8 o'clock once we get these showers and storms out. New warning coming in, like I said, for Northern County, waiting for that one to pop on our screen. And there have been reports, multiple circulations, including reports of brief tornadoes within these showers and storms moving on through the region, which we just talked about. There's just so much low-level spin that we're not just finding one area with tight rotation. We're finding spin within the batch here of rain and the action and the activity that we have on the map. Also, rumbles of thunder happening in parts of the region as well. And now we are beginning to see some signs of some new development in counties of Indiana with the showers and storms moving in and out of Illinois. So you're next with rain and the storms moving through. So everyone in northern Indiana, north Indiana, through this, let you know of these showers and storms that are moving your direction, pick up on rotation and start to spin, and possibility of a tornado warning being issued for, it's been an active night. We still have here you can see on radar we are finding new spin here in parts of Cook County, right around the 9 area towards Oak Park. So waiting to see here how far this one is going to be extended from Schaumburg and Bloomingdale. You're beginning to get in the clear. I need to switch over to velocity mode to get a good idea of what I'm seeing here as we so right around Rosemont and Elk Grove, and again Rosemont reports coming in of a developing tornado now on the north side of O'Hare Airport. I know a lot of people have been feeling. I have no doubt they're getting everyone to the safe places in the airport. You see the tornado shelter zones sometimes when you're walking around. And here's that warning that I was just talking about I was waiting for it to get issued. It's National Service. We have this new tornado warning that was just issued for Cook County. This one will remain in effect now until 7:45, and we are getting reports of a tornado being, or possibly a tornado produced here in the short term. This is going to be on top of Elk Grove, close to Rosemont right now, I-90, 94. Let me take this off so you can get a good idea and a clearer picture where we are. Actually, what I want to do right now is take off radar and see the zone of this new warning for part of North County. This does include Niles down towards Maywood, over towards the lakefront Wrigley Field, again downtown Chicago, but it's right around Grove right now. 190 there, and we're going to take you in street level just so you can get a good idea. The airport, our radar back where we're finding that spin. So there's the airport up towards South Mount Prospect Road, Rosemont. This is the rate to be in your safe place. There's a lot here in terms of homes. This is a highly populated area in the Chicago area. This has been an active night, dangerous situations with these confirmed touchdowns. So again, if you are under a warning, you need to get to your safe place. Hopefully you've been talking about the severe weather safety plane, lowest level of your home. A basement, if possible, would be the best bet from walls and windows. Okay, finally getting a view now in from O'Hare. You can see the cloud structure and the movement there, blue skies back there and can you I'm gonna guess this. I know this is O'Hare with the camera pointing north and west, and there you can see the rain coming down in some of those locations, but also the quick moving cloud structure as well. Blue skies there. And here you can see the darkening and just the lowering of the cloud structure in this view and the highway there. So anyone traveling in this region, hopefully they're getting alerts too. And okay, here you can see this is what we're concerned about. This is that potential wall cloud dropping down. There you can see lowering of that cloud right there in the view from O'Hare Regional Airport. Not seeing a confirmed tornado on the ground right now, but this gives you an idea of what storm spotters have been looking at all day. Okay, here's inside O'Hare Airport, one of the busiest airports in the country. Everyone getting alerted right now, and they are moving to their safe places. They have tornado shelters within the airport, and right now getting confirmation that everyone is being asked to get to those safe places, as we are seeing some ominous skies and the potential here again of a tornado possible touchdown very close to the O'Hare Airport. Greg, what is the latest coming in from the hat and the spotters that are out there that have eyes on this storm as well?
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have control of that camera that we were watching, which is why we were looking towards those blue skies for a second. We instantly would have spotted over where we thought the tornado was. But in some cases, there have been brief instances where that tornado was caught. That camera rather was caught a tornado coming down. Very well cloud. Right now, we're just getting a new scan. That's why everything jumped on you. So, of course, let me just reset the view. This is moving directly over right as we north of the. So those folks hopefully are down in their spots. But if you live in Park Ridge, if you live in Niles, if you live anywhere that's kind of along and north, like if you're headed on 294 or something like that, and you get off on any of these exits that are north of the airport, Devon Avenue, spots like that, Howard Street, Oakton Street, you need to go to the place right now because that is where the tornado warning is for. But you'll actually turn off the velocity data for just a second. You'll notice covering with this tornado warning discussing about the cell being over O'Hare. But there's been multiple small circulations involved in this, and every once in a while they've popped up and produced a tornado. Right now, as that line kind of gels together, basically Cheryl and I are playing whack-a-mole on the radar with new circulations popping up every other scan along the line. And with all the instability in the atmosphere, any new one of those circulations, which is why maybe it feels like we're jumping around a lot, any one of those could then very quickly develop into a tornado, drop it around, and bring it back up. The good news about that is it's a little bit less track than what we just saw a little while ago down on 55, but it is still the same emergent concern as this makes its way to the north side of town. I would be the most concerned in getting very quickly to your safe spaces if you live north of the Eisenhower, all the way up through the north side to just south of Glencoe. And I'll zoom into a couple of those spots to kind of get an idea. Where I'm really concerned and where I really want you to heed the advice of the National Weather Service to go to your safe spot. So that'd be right there. And then on the south side, I would probably draw it, or south of that, obviously not on the south side of Chicago, but I would probably draw it right there. So anywhere kind of in this corridor is where the most rotation and the most frequent rotation has been up. So to give you spots, live up around as well on the north side of town. Really anywhere kind of in this corridor is where I expect to see the rotation and the most frequent and long-lived rotation, again moving just to the west of O'Hare at this time. So those arrows off real quick. I'm going to put the circulation back on because as I mentioned, it's a big basically session of whack-a-mole at this point. With that moving just north of the airport, Park Ridge, Niles, you need to be in a safe spot. Morton Cove, you need to be in your safe spot too at this time. All along High Street, Beckwith Road too, as that goes off to the east. And this will cross 294 in, let me go back to the rotation and just kind of eyeball it, probably about 10, 15 minutes or so. Track it out, 15 minutes. There you go. 10, 15 minutes is when you'll see it in Niles and Park Ridge. So you still do have plenty of time to get into your spot, but you can see what these cells are capable of. This is damage that was out in Hodgkins. So this is a live view of that storm that moved down the I-55, the Stevenson corridor, producing that sort of damage. We also had a picture from a Menards that was out near Burr Ridge. Same type of deal there as that moved down 55. And this is what it's capable of. Picking up one of those towers, flipping it, one of those stalls, putting it on top of you or your car if you're just lollygagging and walking around outside and not in your safe spot. And that is kind of on the best side of things. Of course, could be much worse than that. And as we're starting to see all the reports come in from the area, we're going to send our reporters to those spots. But this is very, very much a developing situation where we're getting damage reports from all over the place, and these usually do lag a little bit behind the actual peak of the damage, of course, because people are coming out of the spots that they were hiding in and emerging to the damage, and first and foremost, before calling the news, they're concerned about their friends and family. So we'll get a little bit of a delay. Usually it's about a half an hour to hour in my experience. Going back to the radar, because this is still the rotation that catches my eye the most, now crossing 294, so it's just off to the northwest of Rosemont. It's clear of the airport at this time, so if you got friends at O'Hare, they should be getting the all clear soon enough. But this extends not only around Morton Grove, but also through Niles and behind me to Lincolnwood too, kind of existing in that corridor that's just off to the east of 294 and north of Interstate 90, as this continues to make its way to the east at about 25 or 30. Well, we just don't like this kind of stuff. There was also caught my eye real quick. I'm going to go back to it. What looks like a little circulation here, or circulation that wants to try to get going. This was that one that we tracked over and moved off to the south and west of Elmhurst. This goes into that tornado warning. Remember, they made it pretty big, right, for the Chicago area. So that's just off to the north of the Ike at this point, and that will stay north of the Ike and make its way just off to the south of the park. So two main areas of concern, but as we know, just about any moment you can catch one in the middle of the line where this thing kind of kinks up with all of the really strong level shear that's in the atmosphere. Looking over, it looks like the National Weather Service has extended the tornado warning for DuPage County. Portions of Cook County will, of course, remain in that tornado warning, but if you're back in Cook County, finally, you can breathe a sigh of relief in Naperville and Downers Grove and Wheaton too, as it looks like we're starting to see the end of this. Wheaton for sure. I know this tornado warning box is still up. That's likely going to disappear as they trim the back edge and this finally exits it. Look, it's got like 2 or 3 minutes left on that far eastern side of the box. So even though you still have it out for the night of Wheaton, effectively the worst of the damage for you, for Schaumburg, for Palatine, for Elk Grove, the worst of the weather is now through, and thankfully we get to some drier weather off and on over the next couple of days. Cheryl, send it over to you for any new updates that you have as we continue this for sure, at least until now the north side of town has their run in with these very strong violent storms.
Yeah, we can clearly see that we are tracking 2 areas of rotation. The good news is that a lot of our area is in the clear, but until this gets through Cook County as well as northwest Indiana, we remain under the threat of tornadoes, and we are finding 2 areas of concern at this point in time. Now, just to go back, anywhere in this pink zone, particularly dangerous situation, tornado warning, because there have been confirmed tornado touchdowns right around Niles, stretching down towards Elmwood Park, Cicero Field, and Chicago. This is a large area, but any time it's line within this circulation and the tightening of it is possible. And there are 2 concerns. And right now, what I'm eyeing right around Elmwood Park, this has been intensifying, and it's been moved out of Elmhurst, crossing over there for just to the north now to 90. This is one area in particular that we're going to continue. We're finding here is the threat still of very strong rotation moving through parts of Cook County. So that zone from Elmwood Park down towards Maywood and Oak Park, just riding to the north now of 290. This will continue to the, as Greg was mentioning, these storms on showers aren't moving all that quickly. But boy, have we seen pictures of confirmed tornado touchdowns across the region over the past couple of hours. Right now, at this point, do not have any confirmation of tornadoes ongoing, which is great news in this exact moment, but we still have the 2 areas of rotation that I've mentioned in Cook County. And the first now is over Lincolnwood. The second area is now moving into Oak Park. These areas are broader than before. As we've been monitoring, the latest scans have shown some signs of broadening and weakening, really what that means in terms of circulation. They're not looking as tight. We're not seeing those strong couplets within it. So from Norwood Park down towards Elmwood Park, right now we are finding here still the potential of that rotation. So if you're in Melrose Park, Wood, River Forest, Elmwood Park, Forest Park, Oak Park, which I just mentioned here, this is where we could still possibly find some very strong rotation and a shower storm capable of producing a tornado touchdown. So although we're not getting information from our spotters and our eyes out in the field in the National Weather Service, there is a tornado touchdown. We've seen with these showers and storms as we put to motion. What I do want to do right now is just backtrack a little bit. You can see as this velocity here just back towards Elmhurst, right around 290. You can see the bright activity there coming in for our velocity values, and that's where we're finding some very tight rotation. And then a little bit, it's broadening a bit, still finding very high winds within the rain and storm action right now from Maywood up to Oak Park. Closer, River Fire, Chicago Ave, Division Street, Bloomingdale Ave, North Park Ave, Central Ave, out towards the east, right along Augusta Boulevard. This very here, getting closer to the downtown. This is a large zone that we really need to stay on top of. I know reports are coming in, and as of right now, we just have this one warning box increasing in size just a little bit, which we do like and love to see at this point in time. But the very latest, what I have right here is my computer, so I'm tracking all of this live with you on the air right now. This is in real time motion here as we are detecting and looking at all of this. But this warning now, the area a bit small, still in effect until 7:45 from Evanston back towards Niles, down towards Norwood Park and Elmwood Park. Really is where we're seeing the worst of the rotation right now, Greg.
And what's nice too is trim the back edge of that tornado watch too, and we're now getting live pictures in all over the viewing area. One spot now in clear up in McHenry County, but this is a view of the damage, a live picture from out in the right now, and you can see folks literally picking up the pieces as there's lots of roofs blown, and this is just as we rolled into town. Scary stuff, seeing the roof of the house peeled off and a big headache for those homeowners. And what you can see along the side of the house too, you see those windows along the screen, that may be broken glass, but is certainly a messed up screen from the debris like from the house next to it that hit, or the wind-driven hail from these as well. So that's on Huntley. Remember, southern fringe of McHenry County had that tornado warning for areas like Huntley and Cary, and we'll stick with this. And just off my head, that looks easily like some EF1 damage, perhaps even up to EF damage, as folks are just kind of coming out and looking around. The good news that there doesn't look like there's a lot of urgency at those scenes, which folks were not at the top level of their house. Hope we can view and get another view of the roof. This is exactly why we tell you the lowest level of your house. Top level, if you're sitting in a room or something like that, that roof is peeled off over your head, and hopefully the attic and everything hangs together. Lowest level, center of the house, away from any of the projectiles that get formed. Because you saw what happened to the side of that house. It got basically sandblasted with this of your neighbor's house. Another view of what we've had in terms of damage across the area is out just off to the north in Hodgkins of Midway Airport. Remember, off to the east of Burr Ridge, which is that cell that moved along the I-55 corridor. There were some pictures of damage out there. We'll have that as well coming up for you in just a couple of seconds. We're getting that in. We're producing. As I mentioned, the weather watch is still at the tornado watch clock. One main area of concern, one main warning, and that is Chicago at this time. Confirmed this color has changed back from the pink, the PDS one, the dangerous situation one, over to the red, which is still very serious, a tornado warning, because we are tracking a very strong rotation that are on the radar. Not so much the reflectivity data. You would look at this, I would look at this, not given the velocity data, and say, okay, that's a pretty standard line of thunder showers, right? Like nothing to be concerned with, but there's so much rotation, so much energy stored up in the lowest levels of the atmosphere that little pockets of rotation continue to form. It kind of steps like a staircase a little bit. Any one of those little pockets is capable of very quickly spinning up a tornado, which is why you see such a large area right now that is underneath this tornado warning, including the north side of Chicago. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what spots, pop out to you in terms of the biggest concern? Well, there's two of them. One up here, up around, so south side of Evanston, right to the center of Wilmette, that tornado warning does extend. Again, on the south side of Evanston, south side of Skokie is where I would be the most concerned right now. I'm going to zoom on in until it gets the street names. So I would say the biggest area of concern is, again, right over the center of where Evanston is on this, between Dodge Ave and Asbury Avenue, and then continuing now on Chicago Avenue over the next couple of minutes. Good news is this is getting close to Lakefront. Bad news, again, is this is over Evanston right now. His rotation is not a confirmed tornado, but as we've seen, within moments can drop tornadoes. And even though it has, what, like 5-6 miles, till, not even, like just till it gets to the lake, it is still of a concern until that finally does move over Lake Michigan. But notice, just over that concern is kind of dove a little bit off south, now along Oakton Street. And this is why it really feels like we're playing whack-a-mole with this line of storms as it moves through, because the areas of rotation, again, just going spot at the moment has the best rotation in it. It wouldn't surprise me at next scan if it starts coming up around Lincolnwood a bit more as it continues to move down the line and this tornado tries the line. Let me go ahead and pull off that little marker that I have on. Another one that I would put on the board. It's just off east now of Elmwood Park. So if you live along Grant, if just north of Chicago, or just north of Augusta Boulevard, or just off to the south of Fullerton, kind of Diversey on the northern edge of that, and then to the east of Liberty. That is also where I see an air concern circulation moving directly over your roofs at this time. This can drop a tornado. So this is no joke. Into Chicago again, following some pretty major thoroughfares. Thankfully, this one is directly down, but it is right now kind of moving down across Milwaukee. That one's Milwaukee, I believe. Double check on that for you, just so I'm not on the wrong street. It is. All right. So, sometimes I think I do. All right. Milwaukee is where that line is probably going to be at the next scan. So right now it's out in New Pulaski, and it's going to make its way to Milwaukee probably about the next 5 minutes. And again, if all of these streets, any of these streets are sounding here too, the area of rotation that I'd be the most concerned with would probably be this one off to the south, although this one off to the north is rotating pretty good too. If you live down in Cicero, it's looking better for you. Most of the rotation is staying off to the north. You are still underneath that tornado warning. Why chances is you've already had one basically move your backyard on the south side of town already. And let's let this get to the lake and get finally done with it. Cheryl, if you've heard any reports that have come in from the National Weather Service, perhaps you've got extra damage, I would absolutely love to see that, because that's about the time that we're getting these in, as we need to track these two areas of circulation making their way out Lake Michigan. Again, that's why such a broad area as I track out those two levels of circulation out to the lake. That's why we have such a broad area warning right now. Yeah, and it's good that I'm timing and saying that we are getting more damage reports, but still just these areas of rotation. I texted folks at my house very close, just on the west side of Chicago, to get to their safe place right now, because we're still finding some very strong rotation, and this is going to continue to get very closer to Chicago, Augusta, here's Avenue, Armitage. We have so many homes right here. We have so many businesses, so many restaurants. Hopefully all of those objects, outdoor tables and restaurants, or tables and chairs, I should say, are confined or brought inside. If you're out ahead of this, which you don't have much time at this point, you just need to get to that safe place because you are under this warning. But Pulaski Road, Augusta Boulevard, Park right now really is where we're getting the worst of the rotation. Again, we're not finding anything that's showing or warranting touchdown at this point. And we have a lot of eyes on the skies, and we're continuing to monitor the reports coming in. But with that said, at any time, these showers and storms are capable of dropping a tornado. All it takes is a minute to 2 minutes to pick up on some more spin. We have a frontal boundary draped across the region. We have so much wind shear, and this is going to continue to push its way through Chicago right now. Again, under that warning. So we zoom on in. Augusta, Grand Avenue, taking right across Ashland. We're going to cross over Western as well. Elston Avenue. This is where we're finding some of the strongest winds right now, right down Chicago and Grand. Continue pressing closer into the city. And you can see all of our city now getting in on this action. This is one of those zones. See those bright colors popping up here right around Diversey, stretching down towards Augusta Boulevard, channeling that Armitage and Grand Avenue corridor right now. A lot of traffic.
722 crossing very close to I-90. This is not too far away from the lakefront at this point in time. You can see just about 4 or 5 miles. The good news is that it's 4 or 5 miles from the lakefront and the heart of downtown Chicago, which means this is going to eventually come to an end across the city. But as of now, we still have that until 7:45. Here, we're also finding still the potential of some spin. So from Evanston down towards Oakton Street, Pratt Boulevard there, North Ridge Boulevard between Evanston and Toohey Avenue, Oakton Street, right on top of you right now. Again, we don't have a confirmed tornado touchdown, but if there were one to occur, it would be right in this location. Sheridan Road as well. Latest scan updated looks great for Evanston. You are getting out of the worst of it. That bringing the rotation off now over Lake Michigan, but still downtown Chicago, right along 90 with Elston Avenue, Street, just now to the Milwaukee Avenue, North Branch Street, Clyburn Avenue, Cortland. We have Home Depot. We have so much in this location, Armitage Avenue as well. All of these streets and neighborhoods, and just at this point in time. And then keeping an eye on the Stickney area, and it looks like we may be developing some new rotation in that region. No confirmation. So we move down. Let's take a look now. Velocity. As Greg was mentioning, from a meteorological standpoint, looking at radar right now, it just really doesn't look that impressive. And this is something that we've been talking about. We don't have those very strong cell thunderstorm tops shooting up 40,000 in the sky. We have these low top storms across the region, but they're latching on to that low levels of the atmosphere. That's all a storm needs to pick up on that spin to be able to produce a tornado. So from the lakefront stretching now back towards Chicago, this is the region. We are so close to being done out of this severe weather threat, but we're not quite there. We still do have one warning that's going to remain in effect until 7:45. Again, capable of producing a tornado over Westtown location right now, moving to the east at 35 miles. A lot of the city watching this situation. I can say the good news is no confirmed tornado touch at this point. I would say we have about 15, 25 minutes to get here through the city, but also to monitor from the Stickney area just back to the west of Cicero, Brookfield Summit. Any of this action right now, Darien already picking up in very strong rotation earlier, about an hour or two ago. You're getting some action again. Burr Ridge there, 294, I-55 Summit. Still the possibility here of some rotation. We were noticing right around the Stickney area. And there you can see a little notch. Again, this doesn't look that impressive on radar, but here, looking at it from a meteorological standpoint, this is something to look for some spin. So we're seeing that close to Stickney up towards Burr Ridge, Cicero. So heads up in this location. I just don't want you to put your guard down if you're not in a warning anywhere we are showing action or the possibility here of warning to develop or pop up is not out of the question. And then cells develop here, a funnel cloud or two not ruled out as this activity here in parts of central Cook County continues to slide to the east. We still just have a lot of instability in the region. Evanston circulation is now offshore, which we were just talking about, but still track very strong rotation around Lincoln Park now. Also watching the circulation around Lawndale, Bridgeport, on the southern fringe of this tornado warning. So there you can see this there showing some signs of uncertainty here. Still some intensity within these showers and storms moving through South Damon Avenue, Southwestern I-55 there, and Cermak Road still under the highly populated city here, getting in on some of the worst of the action.
Yeah, absolutely. And the twin rotations that we were seeing, one of them had moved offshore off the east, but we are still tracking this, which is making it through the north side of Chicago. And I get it. You know, I want to watch the SBs. I'm sure you want to watch these too. You see the programming note at the bottom of your screen. But we've seen what's happened so far with this rotation. The rotation started out near Naperville. We got a tornado warning for it. It went away. Then it came back again right around Burridge, kind of near the Sro type area. And that was a tornado on the ground, seen on the ground, seen damage on the ground. It happened just like that within just a couple of minutes of that first tornado warning for Naperville expiring. So that's why we want to keep an eye on this until we are absolutely sure it is off of the shoreline and into Lake Michigan. So we are still tracking that one rotation which makes its way through the north side of Chicago and taking a quick view at our live 7 max velocity, and it looks like I'm going to go ahead and just circle the area that I was concerned about, right about just south of Wrigley Field, north side of Chicago, kind of around Lakeshore Drive, Clark Street 2, kind of up near the town. In the newscast, but also up near like Fullerton too, and then Halstead. It's just where I know for landmarks across the city. It's basically anywhere. See Clark Street too. So we're gonna watch this as it makes its way off of the shore north of Navy Pier. It's a couple more minutes left in it. I'm already starting to see the sky side of our studio on State Street lighten up a little bit, and the rain is. So that here, checking on this. It is not underneath tornado warning. It is still a bit of a concern for me because just south of 31st Street, kind of near Pulaski, this still looks like a bit of rotation. And this is an area right along 55 in the canal that we saw a tornado touchdown a little while ago. And in fact, out there surveying some of the damage, and I want to send it on out to Kate, who is live on the phone, kind of checking out some of that damage with the locals. Kate, what's it like out there right now?
Well, Greg, right now we are in Hodgkins at a Menards parking lot off East Avenue where we saw or see right now several of the aftermath, actually, of that tornado that reportedly touched down in the area. The worst of the damage in the Menards parking lot where the strong winds looks like a shopping docking station to fall. A pickup truck into Dan spoke with the owner of the pickup truck who that his girlfriend was working at the Menards, called him after the storms had passed through the area, and so he came to the parking lot, and this is what he saw.
It's something else, and I'm sure as poke around a little bit more, we're definitely going to be seeing. As you were on your way in, did you see anything else?
Well, yeah, Greg, especially coming into the right now, you might be even hearing we're getting a spurt of a downfall of rain, and that's sort of what's been like over the past half hour is that we've been seeing the rushes of rain come down, then we get this burst of sunlight, then another rush of rain come down. But coming into this area as we were headed into Hodgkins, as you got into this area where that tornado had reportedly touched, we saw a lot of debris on the roadways, a lot of downed trees, seen some power lines stacking a little bit lower than they normally would have been. So there is a considerable amount of aftermath or damage from that tornado that had touched down here. A lot of people only now just assessing it as we're getting some breaks from that storm. We're getting, as I mentioned, some rain coming in, and now we have a little bit of sunlight. So it's an interesting sight to see right now as we're getting a bit of sunlight and just this wall of rain coming into the parking lot here in Hodgkins.
It is. Thank you very much, Kate Kogarin, who's out in Hodgkins, where a tornado that was spotted moved through early. She actually spoke to someone who witnessed that. Let's take a listen.
What's it like looking at this, sir?
It's what it is. At least everybody okay. I look at it as this is replaceable. People aren't.
Exactly it. And hopefully some quick thinking folks got everybody into the store. If you work in a department store, you can do it before the training for not only yourself, but also for all the patrons of that store. Hey, I've got some good news for you. And very quickly, I'm sure we're going to see the tornado warning that is out for Chicago expire, because that area of biggest concern just over the past 4 minutes has made it out into Lake Michigan. So out of Chicago now, it's now the second of the twin rotations that we are mainly keeping an eye on, making its way out over the lake. That said, the southern periphery of this, actually outside, there's another area that I'm still concerned. It goes off to the south of about 31st or 35th, getting a little more off now, kind of down to 51st Street. So we're getting on the south side. This area, Pershing 47th, is still an area of concern. Again, you are not within warning, but very quickly, up. Just the Chicagoland, Poland neighborhood, but anywhere that's really on the southern edge of this line would be an area that I'm going to pop over here and just check out National Weather Service chat and make sure that, yes, just now, as I was talking about it, it disappears. The tornado warning for Chicago has expired. You're not completely out of the woods. Remember, we still do have a tornado watch that goes until 10 o'clock. I'm up for you. Just stick with me for a second. I'm on the fly. So what's likely going to happen here over the next couple of minutes, and I'm going to pull this box up because I know we got a pre-note on the side, so let me just get this somewhere that you can read it. Sorry for all the on work. That's how we're doing right now. The tornado watch goes until 10 o'clock is probably going to get trimmed up. So probably to like the back edge where I just dragged that box is going to get trimmed up over about the next 15 or 20 or so minutes, and we'll likely still have northwest Indiana, including Newton and Jasper counties, in that tornado watch. They even get to expire it before 10 o'clock. I think certainly we're still looking at that threat through at least 8:30 as it makes its way through northwest Indiana.
Yeah, the is getting that National Weather Service has canceled the tornado warning for Cook County, which is amazing news, which means we have no active warnings on the map at this point in time, and that is the first time that has been the case. I'm getting word that we do a video now to show you a tornado touchdown in Kane County. And this was right around Hampton Hills. And here you can see the intensity of this tornado. There you can see how low the clouds are. Not much room in between the ground and the cover that we're finding that tornado formation. It's really picking up on that spin in the lowest levels. Here you can see that tornado and the rapid spin of it picking up that debris out there in a field. Thankfully, no structures right now that I'm seeing in the path of this, but definitely picking up on that field debris. It is tossing it around. Likely would have seen correlation coefficient on the radar indicating this as well, and we were finding that with velocity, the spin in the atmosphere. And then as this tornado continues on its path moving to the east, this is such an amazing view from a meteorological standpoint. Take a look at that rainbow in the distance. Light coming through cloud structure, that tornado bouncing off of the water droplets in the sky. That is an epic scene coming in from this. Again, thankfully, no structures in line of this video right now, but we are finding some damage in the area. But truly, this is just the theme and a sign of what we've been dealing with throughout the evening. And there have been reports and videos of tornado touchdowns in the northern Illinois area. Truly impressive environmental and atmospheric conditions that came together after those showers and storms moved through earlier today. Take a look at those storms just blowing up there in the sky in the distance. And what's so remarkable about these showers and storms to myself is that, again, they weren't extremely strong supercell thunderstorms, just picking that violent rotation and looking at all of the weather models coming in today, increasing the wind shear and the profiles of the atmosphere throughout the day, just truly remarkable. And taking you to storm reports, because we have reports of tornado touchdowns all across the, so where you see storm report or that red tornado marking, that's indicating where a spotter spotted a tornado touchdown or damage reports from a tornado across the region. So we can take you up here to count reports here of damage coming, and this one roof blown off in Huntley. There you can see that that time was that was around earlier this evening, about a few hours ago. And this one, trees and damage reported to homes near Algonquin and Reed Road. And now we're going to take you to that live picture of Huntley coming in right now. And this is where we're getting reports coming in across this area. And you can see emergency management out there, the fire as well, damage to the roof structure here, just completely, some of that completely blown and torn off from, again, likely a tornado touchdown in this with those strong winds. Thankfully, we're still seeing the siding and that brick there intact with this. Hopefully no injuries or no major damage inside some of these structures and homes, but definitely giving you an idea of what we're going to be finding out there across northern Illinois from the active weather that we have been seeing in this evening. The good news is that we are beginning to find all of this action. We've had multiple reports of the tornado touchdowns and potential tornado touchdowns in the Chicago area. Just checking in on all of the reports, and if you're hearing your city, extreme trees snapped and debris wafted into the air, the possibility of a tornado confirmation close to the O'Hare Airport as well. This is where warehouses were reported to be damaged on the west side of the O'Hare Airport. It really has been just truly a remarkable evening. So just back to what we're finding right now after we showed you some of that video, nature of these storms and tornadoes that were marching on through the region. We are almost in the clear. We don't have any tornado warnings on the map at this time. We're finding some heavy rain now just south of the city. Still some strong winds, gusts reported from back towards Midway and Burbank. This activity off to the east, we'll really start to see our tornado threat go down. But notice it will be still some isolated northwest Indiana. So we're not completely out of the woods yet, but what I can say is good news. First time this evening to not have a tornado storm. I'm going to send it over to Greg. The worst is definitely very close to being behind us.
It does, yeah. And I'm taking a look here again, free with the exception of the flash flood warning that still goes on for extreme southern Cook County from all that heavy rainfall. Yesterday, you look at the radar, and again, we're kind of extending things a little bit to be this line. I really want to get this through because there is still the chance that it taps into that really strong lower level shift. When you were watching that video, you may have noticed how violently, just a little bit off the ground, that tornado was rotating. That's half of into there. There was 50 knots of shear, which means that the wind gets twisted 50 knots in just a short distance. That's why we were so concerned. Yes, these didn't form those big, kind of beautiful, for lack of a better term, on the radar hook echoes that you normally see with supercell storms. And these were kind of just pretty tornadoes that popped up very quickly and still went for a decent distance, like that one that was back towards Burr Ridge. But again, I want to watch this line as it pushes through northwest Indiana, so we'll definitely keep an eye on it. But something that shows me that things are better is, look at this. We're back to the velocity data, so we're the wind speed, not just the rainfall in this, but how fast, what direction the wind, the raindrops rather, are moving, and that tells us the winds. And when you see little crooks or kind of stairs in this line, that's where you get concerned. And this, to my eye, especially earlier, is much smoother than it has been before. So what that's telling me is these thunderstorms are kind of becoming downdraft dominant. So the downdraft is pushing the wind out in front of these storms, and we're not seeing kind of dominated by that strong updraft, which is kind of where the tornado really likes to form. Looking our way back off to the west, it's also nice and dry out there. But we have Kate Colgarin, who is live out there in Hodgkins, which is the area that looks like at least closest to Chicago, was hit the hardest, and we'll have that coming up with her in just a moment. But first, I do want to toss it over to our wonderful anchor team who's been following everything, and they're going to, from here, guys.
We have been covering it. 10 to 20 tornado warnings throughout the hour. And of course, it is a major tornado development here happening in the last 2 hours. Now we want to get an update on what's happening around our area.
We have that are scattering all over the area, trying to chase these storms as they move out of the area. Our Kate Colgarin has made it to southwestern Cook County. She's in Hodgkins, one of those tornadoes we believe touched down earlier today. Kate, you can see very clearly there is some damage behind you. What are you seeing?
Well, Liz, what we're seeing right now is the aftermath now that those storms, for the most part, have cleared from this area here in Hodgkins. We are live in a Menards parking lot for a shopping cart docking station. The roof of it, as you can see right now, has come down onto at least 2 vehicles, a pickup truck and a sedan. Not only has it fallen onto those vehicles, you can see the shopping cart wedge between those vehicles parked here, broken glass as a result, damaging winds. The damage has been beyond this area as well. For over, you can see broken glass, just to give you an idea of just how, as I keep saying, damaging those winds, those strong storms that had come through this area. And we can give you another look around here to show you just the side of the roof of that shopping cart. station here, completely mangled on the floor. Just a mess here that people have to be dealing with now that the storms, as we are hearing, the most part have moved out of this. Again, there's going to be a lot more work to do as we're only now beginning to assess the cleanup in this area. We're coming to you live from ABC News. Liz, Cheryl, back to you.
If you can hang with us for just 1 second, you've been out all the past 2 hours as these alerts and these storms have been moving through. What else did you see before you were able to that parking lot?
Well, Liz, as we were approaching this area where a tornado was spotted here in Hodgkins, as we got closer to Hodgkins, we could very much see that aftermath through along the roadways. We're talking down trees, branches on the roads. I mentioned earlier as I was speaking with Greg about power lines hanging lower than they used to, so you could clearly see that strong winds had ripped through this area, extending beyond. We'd also heard from another woman early as we arrived that she was pulling into the Menards parking lot just before that tornado had reported. He said shelter. He pulled over into this parking lot, and in speaking with us, she said then a tree down to her car. Thankfully, there was a good Samaritan nearby who helped her out of that vehicle, and hopefully more so, both her and no one else was injured. Speaking with the owner of the pickup truck, he told me one astounding thing is thankfully no one was.
You can see him in the background of your live shot assessing his truck there, Kate, and he did mention that no one was hurt, and that's the beautiful thing. We've seen shining through. After all of this, you can see Menard employees picking up debris and damage in the parking lot and over shopping carts. You talked about what you saw on the way there. How was it for you and the crew, and what were you able to videotape?
Well, Cheryl, once we arrived here, it was sort of interesting to watch the developments of the weather come through this area. We saw sheets of rain as we were just approaching this parking lot. We get out, we get a clearing for a moment. There was some sunshine, as you mentioned. As we were arriving, you could tell that the Menards employees were, as we were mentioning, just assessing this damage, picking up those overturned shopping carts, all of that just going on within the first few moments. But then after we were gathering that video and talking with people in this area, there were some lightning flashes, so then our crew had to actually go back into our SUVs for safety protocols to make sure that we were safe. And now, as you can see, the sun is shining. Things have cleared up here for the most part for a little bit, but now is when people are going to be coming out of their homes to see that damage. Obviously, if you are in one of those storm areas, you want to stay tuned to ABC7 to make sure that you have to go out. But this is what we're seeing here in Hodgkins. People now coming out to what the aftermath of that storm, of that reported tornado touchdown in this area, Cheryl.
All right, Kate, thank you so much for painting a great picture of what's happening there. We're so glad when they're safe, and like the gentleman that you interviewed saying that no one was hurt. You can replace all of those items, but not people who could be injured from all of the storm damage. And Cheryl and Greg were very specific about where the tornadoes were headed so everyone could take cover, specifically the times and dates, and we hope that was cool. So let's go to Hampton Hills now in Kane County, where you're taking video of the tornado that's coming through the area in Hampton Hills. Now this is extraordinary video because as you watch the rotations go round and round and the skies are darkening, it's very disturbing and scary. In a few moments you're going to see a little bit of a rainbow come through, but who knows? Of course, we'll have to have the experts come out, and Greg and Cheryl can assess exactly the rotations and what happened and how this touched down and what it really means, how low it is to the ground, how you can see how dark the skies are.
Greg was commenting just how remarkable the video is. This was taken about 6:30 when that tornado came through the Kane County area. This is Hampton Hills. You can see that rotation very clearly there, and said that this was one of the very clear rotations that was happening in the area. Greg, did you want to chime in here?
Oh, yeah,
and you
absolutely.
can see that rainbow coming clearly through.
The
How does
rainbow
that
is,
happen?
the rainbow
Greg?
is something else, but notice like right where the cloud, wow, there's debris. The cloud
that you were talking up.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we found on radar. Those actual chunks of debris, those oddly shaped things that are flying, the radar sees that and says, those aren't all the same shape or size as a raindrop. That's something else, and it actually paints it as debris. That's why we talk about the debris ball on the radar. We can see that stuff, and when we see it, we know that the tornado is actually picking stuff up. And also, look at like the bottom, first 300 feet or so of that tornado before the wall cloud is there. That is the sure just sign and signal of how much rotation we had in the atmosphere. Just that little area, that 500 or so feet off of the ground, where the wind spun around so quickly that we didn't have to have those big, beautiful storm structures that you normally see on the radar that looks like a classic kind of textbook view to get a textbook looking tornado out of that. So that is just some unbelievable, remarkable video, and it's a testament to A, the forecasting ability that we have nowadays to predict, and B, of the radar for being able to see that rotation so clearly down to the street level. And I know maybe it seemed like we were kind of bouncing around all over the place with street names, and a lot of them maybe weren't to you, but again, we do that because if you're a person and you hear a street name in your community and it sets off that little alarm in your head, like, wait, that's near me, that signal that you need to go down. It's not for any except for the people within like the 5-mile radius that maybe hear that and recognize it, or know somebody that lives on one of those streets, send them down to the basement.
So Greg, give us a background on how they determine EF1, EF2, EF3, and EF4, and when the experts come in town to assess. Based on what you were seeing, the rotation there in Campton Hills, what perception? What do you think happened there?
Hill one is tough because we see some debris getting picked up by that, but yeah, let's take a look at it. And this is at least EF1, EF2, and depending on when they bring us out, which will be tomorrow, we're going to let this line get through. Tomorrow they'll go out and they have data and everything and GPS tracks and better. They'll go out and they'll actually survey this. Anything that did hit, they're going to go right over the track. This very clearly was a tornado. You can see a debris get flung up there. My guess is somewhere in the EF2 to maybe even E3 range, just given how high that debris gets lofted. I mean, that was a swoop in, and we see chunks of tree that are up some 200, maybe 300 feet in the air. So again, as you kind of watch this move, condensation funnel, and that's not just a thin little rope tornado, tornado rather. That's like getting in the stovepipe tornado type range. Of those bigger, thicker ones.
And we've been following these alerts all afternoon. This is just one tornado. We had video of one touchdown, we believe, or some rotation countryside that happened in the Cook County area. We can break that up, some damage rather. Coming up here in just a second. We're sort of gathering as it comes in. Trees down there. I want to ask Cheryl Scott about that one that moved through earlier.
Well, and the same type of deal here. Cheryl with us? If she chime
yes.
right in. But yeah, just from the damage you see here, so what they do is they go and lab test these sorts of things with wind speeds, and they say, okay, kind of wind speed peels off the house like that, and then they correlate with how high the wind speed must be tornado. I mean, you see that those are shingles, and stuff. Shingles, pieces of, I think I saw a piece of gutter there, dirt, debris, tree leaves, all that kind of stuff getting pulled up into the air. And just from that first picture that we saw, that would firmly into EF2, maybe EF3 range, depending on the damage that was around that house. But anytime you start seeing more than just shingle damage, that's when you start getting into the EF2 100+ mile/hour wind speeds. And we got a graphic. It's sitting somewhere in the weather system. I'll pull it up of the wind speeds at each EF range. So I'm not just throwing out stuff that kind of sounds like a foreign language.
That's why I was asking you for your expertise. We have video now from Chopper 7 HD over Campton Hills. It is Chopper 7 HD live, of course, looking at damage. Aerial damage is always a very different perception from being on the ground when you assess the damage. You said the surveyors were tomorrow, and based on what you can see here, and covering tornadoes for the years and watching the debris just circulate in rotation and then it lands. Sometimes you talk to people who saw cars and trucks and RV in actually the tornadoes, and then they land hundreds of feet away and sometimes miles away from where it was picked up. And it appears to be some of the damage here from Campton as we're looking at it from Chopper 7 HD live. We saw that rotation of the tornado happening as it was about 6:30 today, but now we can see the aftermath, and always what is just so remarkable what happens, and we're trying to make sure no one is injured. Cheryl and Greg, one point about making sure people found safe spaces and they were getting areas where they could remain safe, but now you can see it from the
on that for tornado damage because straight line wind versus tornado damage. In straight line wind damage, everything's pointing in the same direction because the wind's blowing in the same direction, right? You'll notice there, especially the trees, remarkably so, the trees are in kind of all different directions there, and that is the very nature of the chaotic winds that are inside of a tornado. When you see one tree point in one direction, another tree in another direction. Also, the hit or miss aspect with straight line winds usually get a swath that's cut. You'll notice here some of the roofing is ripped off. Industrial buildings get a different grading scale than residential buildings because they're built with different materials and different standards. And the fact that it's an industrial grade building or a school building, that'll probably up the wind speeds. You see those trees, they're top, all things that we look at when we're trying to assess the EF1, even the EF2 tornado scares. You see the shingles of that. Just kind of wanton nature of how to do damage. They'll do damage to one house, they'll stick the next house down, and that's why we were so alert. We could drop it any time.
Exactly. You, in a scientific viewpoint of where it might be heading in the path, but in actuality, it could take this any moment and get any action and change it. As you said, it is fascinating to see one house on one street perfectly intact, the street across just 20 feet away, demolished. Rooftops, of course, you can see shingles in different locations, and see the row of buses still just intact in that parking lot, like at school. However, there are other cars that have been overturned. So it's just kind of fascinating how the lines work, but hopefully no one was injured in all of this.
And incredible, really, you see that damage came out of this massive rotation cloud that went through earlier, I think Greg said about 6:30 this evening. And so to see that video aftermath and this rotation, fortunately, a lot of probably space all of that.
Yeah, country for sure.
Right, and that is not heavily populated as it could be, and that probably is very helpful. As had it been more homes, more business, more building, damage could be a lot worse. But it is a lot of farm area, so it will. It's still daylight out there, which is good, so we can see some of the damage from the aerial view. And what is remarkable and just so phenomenal is just seeing this rainbow is coming through even as the location of the tornado is taking place right there in that spot.
And thing too is we get Cheryl Scott to move in here, and she's going to go ahead and chime in as well. One thing that is useful for us, again, is the debris signature as meteorologists, but that is a lagging, not a leading indicator of a tornado, because the tornado obviously has to be on the ground to produce that damage. So that is why when we see the debris fall on the radar, we get very serious, very fast, as if, every tornado warning isn't serious, but, on the highest end of severity, because we know that ground that has already caused destruction is likely still on the ground if that debris signature continues.
Based on your scientific information heading into where you knew that these tornadoes were going to touch down, can you tell us right now just the path, how many miles it crossed, how much time that it landed on the ground and stayed on the ground, based on the debris aftermath that was right? Possible to say it went for a mile, it went for 2 miles, or just maybe 10 seconds on the ground, and it has all of this damage. Are you able to let us know that, Greg?
I would say, and this is very, very early. I would say for the one that was out Burr Ridge, just the amount of time that we saw the debris ball on the radar, it was probably the ground for at least 3 or 4 miles, at least. 3 or 4 might be getting on the higher end of things, but at least on the ground for a period of time that was probably somewhere around 10 minutes, if not longer. It depends. Again, when they go out, they may see that it picked up for a minute or two and then drop back down again. So that's something that we leave to the National Weather Service when they go out there and actually look through. But some very clear, heavy destruction. That looks like roof was just lifted straight up off of the garage. And again, the RV unharmed, but the roof completely ripped off and the walls fallen in.
So we've been following stories nationally, Greg, about the intensity of this weather system that's been heading across the country all week. Has all of the flooding that we've been experiencing in the past 7 days, has this made the conditions for tonight just a perfect storm, if you will?
I think the moisture, for sure. The moisture for sure had a play in today because the atmosphere was already charged back up again because of how humid it was due to all the rainfall, the inches of rain that we saw. So that was definitely a contributing factor. If it was just an ordinary day where we saw a line move through, it wasn't that much extra moisture, the dew point wouldn't have been, these thunderstorms wouldn't have been. Because honestly, we only got that brief time during 4 hours of the clearing and most storms fired up along the line. So I would say it certainly was a circumstance that led directly to it, but helped out the intensity of these storms.
So looking at some of these pictures from Chicagoland HD of the damage in Campton Hills, this was about an hour and a half ago. I want to go to Cheryl Scott, who was all afternoon. I think the tornado alerts really first started coming in around 6 o'clock. Cheryl, can you take us back through what we have been following over the last 2 hours or so, and where the worst of those alerts were?
It was really interesting around 10 a.m., 11 a.m., noon. We were definitely honing in on the atmosphere beginning to rebound. We had heavy rain and storms earlier in the day, but they moved out just in time to give the environment to basically refuel itself. And what happened is we had a warm installed right across our that so much spin in the low levels of the atmosphere. So around 10, 11 noon today, we started forecasting that we were going to have to shift gears from the last round that moved on through to the afternoon and evening, getting the updates in on social media and our newscast that the tornado threat had that increased dramatically across the region. And that's exactly what we ended up seeing, multiple tornado reports touching down. And it's all because we had so much spin of the atmosphere. When we're showing you these videos of the tornadoes row in the background, you're not seeing this extremely long rope-like tornado twisting down from the high sky. It's just a few hundred feet basically from the ground up to the low-level clouds, and the strong supercell tornado storms up to about 40, 50, 60,000 feet. We had storm tops at about 20, 25,000 feet, and all of these storms gripped on to that low-level rotation. And when I talk about a volatile environment in terms of weather, that's exactly what we had go down at the low levels of the atmosphere. So from the ground up to about 1,000 feet, we had extreme wind shear, and that is winds moving and twisting at different levels at different heights. And that's why we were finding these tornadoes form, latching onto that warm front that just got stuck across our region. So it wasn't one particular spot that ended up getting hit the hardest. It was that threat across northern Illinois, and where those showers and storms picked up on that heavy rotation at the low levels of the atmosphere. That's where we ended up finding those tornado towns out there in a really remarkable situation. However, it did evolve and form today, and there's that setup with that area of low pressure warm front across our region, and think that threat now is diminishing, and we had a warning on the map now for quite some time. But just remarkable images and videos, and hopefully everyone is okay, but definitely structural damage that we're going to continue to across the region. Back to you guys.
And that damage could be extensive depending on where we are. The last of those tornadoes moved out over the lake. I think you said about 7:30. We now want to go to our Michelle, who is in Countryside, where she's tracking some damage there. Michelle, can you tell us about where you are?
Good afternoon, Liz. We are in, like you said, in Countryside, in a neighborhood that is right off of Hillsdale Road. And what you can see right now is a tremendous amount of tree damage in the neighborhood. And it makes it look almost worse than it is. One house, however, that did sustain a significant amount of damage is the one that we're showing you right now. You can see the garage here collapsed, a significant part of the rooftop as well collapsed onto itself. Neighbors here telling us that the woman that lives in this house did have to be hospitalized, although they tell us she appeared to be physically okay, but had maybe gone into shock, and so she was taken off to the hospital to check on her and see how she was. But other than that, the good news that we're hearing is that despite what appears to be a tremendous amount of damage, I mean, we have trees 100 years trees that have been completely ripped of the ground. We have a lot of damage, porch damage, that kind of a thing. But in general, the good news that we're hearing from the residents here is that they've basically already all checked in on themselves, of course, and they tell us that as soon as they got the alarms, they basically, saw the sky turn, the wind went up very strong, and they said that, just immediately went into their basements. But they tell us that really just as quickly as it came, the tornado left. One neighbor telling us that she feels like it was all over and done with within about 20 seconds. And when they came out, what they found was all of this damage to the neighborhood. But again, most of it appears to be in landscaping, roofing, that kind of a thing. The important thing, however, is that there don't seem to be any serious injuries, at least at this point, that we have heard of from anybody in the neighborhood. We've not been able to confirm this yet with emergency services. They're not on the scene right now. Really what we're seeing is mostly folks, already just trying to clean up some of the debris. But the good news is that because we're not seeing, again, those emergency services right on scene, all of that, it really is just an indication that what we have is a lot of maybe like cosmetic physical damage, but nothing really that we need to worry about in terms of injuries, casualties, all of those things that, of course, we don't want to see. So for now, that's what we have, and I'll send it back to you, Liz, while we keep, just checking out on the ground how everything is, and we'll get back to you when we have more information to share.
Okay, Michelle, we can see a lot of trees down there, but fortunately no medical services in the background is definitely a good sign.
Of course. All right. Well, let's go to Cheryl just to wrap it all up and just do a review of everything we've been watching for the past 2.5 hours. Cheryl.
Yeah, thankfully we haven't had any warnings on the map for quite some time now, which is good news. But you can see those showers and storms that developed just a few hours ago, spawning all of the tornado touchdowns and confirmations across the area. Now, we're not completely out of the woods, but the tornado threat has lowered dramatically across the region here. But we still do have that frontal boundary in parts of the region, but still some isolated showers here in parts of northwest Indiana. The tornado watch still in effect until 10 p.m. Hopefully it does expire a little earlier than that, something that we'll monitor. But northwest Indiana, some isolated showers and storms still possible. Again, that tornado threat has dramatically decreased across the area. Back to you.
All right, Cheryl, thank you for that. And of course, we're going to take a break now and join our audience on the digital stream as you enjoy the ESPYs on ABC 7.
Chicago.com or watching us on your news app as you are out and about. This is Chopper 7 HD flying over the Campton Hills area where we had rotation of a heavy, a tornado touchdown earlier there today. The National Weather Service, of course, will have to come in and confirm that. Our meteorologists, Dutra and Cheryl Scott, have been tracking this for several hours now. We're going to check in with them in just a minute, Cheryl.
I know Greg did tell us that when I asked him about the efficiency of assessment, watching all of the tornadoes and the rotations, would it be when the surveyors come in tomorrow, when the experts come in, will it be an EF1, EF2? He talked about perhaps being 2 to 3 as we look at live pictures from Chopper 7 HD of damage and debris in the Elgin area. It is widespread. I asked Greg also about miles, how far, how wide, how extensive it was. And I believe he's checking that and tracking that down for us. But you can see in certain suburbs here in Elgin, of course, lots of fencing down, some swimming pools still intact, but you can see debris has been strewn across several of the backyard areas. Some of the homes still intact, which is good. Trees, depending on where you are, when we talked to Chicagoland, she's in Hodgkins, of course, the parking lot of Menards shopping center, and the shopping carts, the whole containment system of the shop blown away to cars that were parked in that parking lot. She spoke to one of the owners of one of the cars, thankful that no one was injured because of things can't be replaced, and no one was injured in that area. And that is because this is some massive, it's in the of the area.
And this is not just, one possible tornado we've been tracking. Greg and Cheryl have been watching multiple possible tornadoes across the Chicago area, almost our entire viewing area over the last several hours. Chopper 7 HD is flying around trying to pick up a sense of any of the damage, and our reporters have been scrambling for the area, trying to get to places safely. Our Craig Wall is now live on the phone. He is out in Kempton Hills, that's in Kane County, where we saw that rotation cloud earlier today. Craig, tell us about what you're seeing, where you are, and then we want to ask you about the drive out there.
Yeah, well, we're in the area of Crawford Road and Bowes Bend Road, and the tornado came here apparently pretty good because there are a lot of trees down. I spoke to a woman in her home. She said it was a very funny thing. The wind whipped up. It just blew through very quickly. She has got trees down all over her yard. You can see some of the telltale signs of a tornado coming in because the trees were twisted as they were ripped off the ground. Some pulled out from their roots. Just kind of driving around reports of some other more heavily damaged homes further east of here, but power lines were down, some roads were off, and so they were not able to allow us to go down in there and see it. But the cleanup has begun, and there's a lot of chainsaws going right now as people do the best they can. The woman we talked to there, she said nobody was injured in her home, for which they're very grateful. It's very, very frightening.
So, Craig, did she tell you that her home was damaged at all?
No damage to her home, very thankful. Lots of large trees that have been in the yard. They moved in like 20 years ago, and it just ripped up the roots or twisted and ripped up the trunk and just around in their yard. Clean up, but no reports of damage. I did speak to somebody from emergency services earlier over here, and that tornado came through. Seemed to be the video we had from the stringer that showed the white funnel cloud passing over open farmland, not further east, and that's where it caused some damage to some of these homes. So we're driving around looking to see if there's any other damage in the area that we can get to, but with down power lines, obviously, it's a safety concern, and so they have a number of roads blocked off.
So, Craig, did the woman say that she heard alerts? So how was she alerted to that this tornado was headed her way? What did she specifically do? Where did she go in her home, and how did she react? And how early in advancement was she told to react?
Yeah, she didn't tell me how quickly she had got alert, but they did hear the sirens going off, then the wind, and they went for cover. And when they looked up and when they came outside, they saw the rainbow. So it was moved through very quickly. But they're fortunate, no reports of anybody injured along this area.
And Craig, so often when we talk to people who have hunkered down through a tornado, they mention the sound of a freight train. That seems to be the most frequent. I'm sorry?
Yeah, it's just that we often hear people.
Okay, and as we're talking from Chopper 7 HD, some pretty extensive damage in that area, mostly physical damage to trees, things like roof and siding of housing and things like that. As you made your way out there, were you able to very clearly see as you were driving where this tornado had come through and where it perhaps had spared?
No, I didn't. I came through 47, so I came into the west, and there was no sign of anything out there. Coming down Plato Road east towards this area, sign of whatever across crops or anything like that. It wasn't until I got into this neighborhood some of the first signs of a significant damage of the trees.
So, Craig, our Chopper 7 HD is for us at this moment because of impending weather. What is it where you are right now? What is the temperature? Move the field? How is it that right now?
It's like cars on 57 degrees right now. There's a light breeze here. The fall comes complete. People are around. To people are assessing the damage and trying to clean as best they can.
So it's going to be, the sun's going to set probably in just minutes. Street lights on, or is there anything that will give you light there?
I'm looking at the homes, and I do not see any kind of lights on inside the home. So it would prefer power being down across Plato in the area. It's not having power here. But we'll have to follow up and check on that. But I think there's power in this area.
Just a few minutes ago, we checked in with Ricardo, I believe it is in Countryside. She said one of the good things that she had seen out there was that there were no medical emergency services out there. It seemed to be an indicator that perhaps there were no serious injuries. You spoke with medical services as you made your way to the area. Are you seeing any ambulances, any fire trucks out and about, perhaps treating anybody who may have been injured in all of this?
Where we are, I suspect if there were ambulances that might have been further east in the area where the greater damage was, the area that it shut down due to the power line being down. Do you all have power here, by the way? No, they haven't supposed to. They tell me they have no power at the moment.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
The sun is going to be setting momentarily, and that's when it's going to get challenging because of all the power that's been knocked out to the area. Let's switch gears now and go to Countryside. We talked about Michelle Gallardo earlier in this broadcast. Let's get an update and see how things are going where you are. Michelle, how's it going? What's the weather like?
You know, it like often happens after tornadoes, the sky is at least right above us is almost completely clear now. But as you said, the sun is going to begin to set soon. And before that, I want to show you a little bit more, another example of what we're seeing out here. You know, the house, for example, right in front of us, it's a perfect example of what we're seeing, which means a lot of broken windows. There's certainly broken glass, there's shingles, siding, that kind of thing. But most of all, you can see is a tremendous amount of tree. We know that a 95-year-old man lives inside that house. Our daughter tells us that she's perfectly, thank goodness. But what has really shocked her is the loss of the trees, which says, you know, we're already planted here when she was born, and you know, it's just all the memories that involved in just, you know, having your property as you knew it altered. But at the end of the day, again, what we're seeing is that despite all of this tree damage, despite some of the physical damage to the homes, most people seem to be okay. You know, like we mentioned, we don't have medical services here, and that's a good thing. Debbie, do you have a second to chat? Excellent. So this is Debbie Taylor. She, the daughter of the woman that I was telling you about who owns the home here. Debbie, talk to me. How's your mom doing?
My mom's fine. She shook up, but she's fine. She was in the house by herself, but she's doing great.
And just talk to me about, obviously, as soon as this happened, you clearly rushed over. Just looking at it.
Most of the neighbors have lived here like 60 years, a lot of them. And one of the down the street that I grew up with came and told me that she saw my mom's house. Here's one of the neighbors that grew up in this neighborhood. Hi, Bruce.
Your mom okay?
Yeah. So we're all been like family and
all checking in
and
on
they're
each
all
other,
checking in.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was in the neighborhood.
Yep.
I drove by, see her.
That's what happened.
Her
So
windows broke.
his parents used to live up the hill. I mean, we've been here forever.
But what you were saying is that what really has been shocking is just looking at how the house, the property has been altered, because something as simple as a tree meant a lot to you, right?
So these trees that were uprooted, my dad, who would be 98 during COVID, brought those from his parents' house in oh my God, where did they live? My mind, no. No, oh my God, my mind.
It's okay, but he brought them from their previous home.
Yes, all the way. Oh my God, where did they live? I can't. My mind. I'm sorry.
You know,
it's
you've
like
got a lot on your mind right now. I think so. That that's the least of it. But obviously, it's just things that are
up
symbols
by the airport. What starts by wood with? I can't even think. So anyway, they were this little when my dad brought them, and they're big, and there they are.
But you know what? Your mom's okay, and everybody is okay, right?
Everybody's okay. I mean, all the neighbors seem to survive. It's more superficial damage, I guess.
And obviously right now there's no power, so mom's going to have to come with you, I assume, tonight?
Yes, my mom's going to stay with us, and we've got someone coming to board up all the windows already, so everything will be good.
Right, exactly.
At the end of the day, it's a house, and everyone's okay.
And you know what? That's why we have insurance, to take care of all of this physical damage. All of you guys are okay, and that's what matters.
Thank
Debbie,
you. Thank you.
I really appreciate it. I'm so glad that
Thank
your
you.
mom is fine.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you so much. And so there you heard it from, somebody who was born in this house, she tells me, but what the hell? She's remembered. Dad brought the trees from Woodville. But, again, just what you're hearing is more just dismay at seeing, some of the physical damage, but in the end, we're also just hearing a lot of attitude here. And like you've seen, the neighbors are all checking in on each other. They're making sure that everyone's okay. And at the end of the day, they all are, at least for the most part, and it matters, right? So again, for now, we're live in Countryside. I'm Michelle Gallardo, ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Cheryl, Liz, back to you guys. And we'll of course, check back in throughout the day.
Bruce came to check in on Debbie. Everybody is okay.
And Michelle in on the whole neighborhood. So excellent report and real perspective, because at the end of the day, everybody's still alive, harmed. Greg was talking about, because the ground is so saturated, we're going to see a lot of trees down because there was so much moisture. It has been raining since July 1st, that heavy weekend of the holiday weekend, and it still continues. So that is really what we're seeing. So we're so glad that Michelle got an opportunity to speak to the homeowner. Can replace the trees, although it means so much to their family, but everybody's okay.
We're just starting to get a sense of the damage all over the area. We spoke with Craig Wall, who's out in Kempton Hills, Shardo in Countryside, in Chicagoland and Hodgkins. In almost all of those cases, they are dealing with power outages. Right now, ComEd is saying they have at least 87 customers without power at the moment. Those numbers could go up. They
8,700.
8,700.
Yeah, 8,700.
8,700 customers. But we have been tracking these tornadoes and these storms for several hours now. I want to get back over to Cheryl Scott to kind of take us back to the beginning and show us the path of where all of this happened and give us a sense of what we've been watching for the last few hours. Cheryl?
Yeah, I'm starting you off here. We had Michelle Gallardo out in the field at Countryside, and you can see those tornado reports popping up. But combine this with radar and take you back just a few hours. And as I take radar back, we can see touching down in this region. So going back in time just a little bit, this was about 3:19. We have been a little bit getting closer to 6:03. And what we're finding is the one cell that moved through Countryside. There's that tornado report coming in, tornado touchdown on the ground, and also very close to the Hodgkins area as well. This is about 15-25 minutes southwest Chicago, so a short 15 miles away from Chicago. And that was not the only place. You can see up in the north and west, like you said, Campton Hills, King County, up into parts of McHenry. These are all tornado touchdowns that were spotted. National Weather Service will be going out tomorrow and surveying the damage. And what they look at is the structural damage, the tree damage, and once they look at all of the material, they'll base the reports and tell us exactly how strong the tornado was. So it's not like see a tornado and say that's an EF1, EF2, and EF3 with winds in excess of 55 miles per hour. It actually takes a lot of time and surveying all of the damage to get the actual path, the actual width, and the intensity of that tornado. But I can tell just by looking that likely some of these today were at least EF1 to EF2s. And what's really remarkable is that around noon today, we were put in that zone of the possibility of seeing stronger than EF2 tornado. We're put in that 10% hatched area, and that's exactly the region we saw the tornado downs today. So really a remarkable job by meteorologists, the Storm Prediction Center, and National Weather Service, everyone working together to really seeing the destabilization of the atmosphere earlier this afternoon. Now, we're not completely out of the woods. Tornado watch over until 10 p.m. That threat has gone down substantially across the area. Right now, that is moving to the other side of the lake, isolated cells right now along and south of I-80 in northwest Indiana. Back to you.
All right, Cheryl, thank you so much. You and Greg both did a great job over the past several hours, warning people down to the intersection. It was time to get in a safe place. So hopefully there was a lot of damage that could have, stopped by those warnings. So thank you.
For sure, definitely. So let's definitely with Eric Conrad. Let us know what is happening there.
Yeah, Cheryl, we're in a residential subdivision south of Road. We're on Douglas Avenue. If you're familiar with this area, we've got 2 apartment buildings that have been damaged damaged in this residential subdivision. See this one with the roof completely peeled off here. We're told that these two apartment buildings have about 4 units each, and so you've got 8 residents, or 8 families right now that have been displaced. But the good news, no injuries reported to any of the residents who are in these 2 particular structures. But we're seeing quite a bit of tree damage in this residential subdivision. Right now we're joined by Battalion Chief Mike Pierce from the Huntley Fire Department here to give us a few more details as to what took place here. In terms of these 2 units, just describe what you saw as you guys rolled up.
As we rode up, obviously there's a lot of residents around the area. Everyone concerned about their neighbors, so everyone's trying to make sure everyone was out and where everyone was. We had our units first enter the units, do a primary search. Once we got everyone's out, we were kind of able to slow down, recon in the area, look for damage, look for down power lines. We got down power lines in the area, and just really just came down to the community at that point in time.
Down power lines, there are outages, they're peak dark this evening.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have an estimate on that. If outages throughout town, trees, branches taking down lines throughout town. To the best of our knowledge, all the building damage happened kind of right in this area. We've got these 2, and then there's a storage unit just to the east of us that took to the roof also.
So multiple structures in Huntley in and around this area
sustaining
damage, but this looks to be worst of it, this roof peeled off of this apartment building?
Yeah, definitely, and obviously being a residential unit, we're concerned with the well-being of the residents that are living there. So we do have the Red Cross coming in. They're going to be meeting with any residents that are in need of assistance at the Village Hall. The police department has opened up the Village Hall, and we'll have Red Cross over there to assist anybody with housing or any other needs that they might have.
How remarkable is it when you look at this image of the roof peeled off the building, knowing that there were perhaps residents here? How remarkable is it that no serious injuries?
I can't speak for the residents themselves. I know for us as the fire department, we heard the watches come out. We were sitting there eating dinner. Our phones alerted with the warnings. We heard the tornado sirens go off. So there was pre-warning to this. We're just thankful everyone was able to make it out safe and there are no injuries from it. So.
That is important to note that the sirens did go off. They gave this community some warning. Just describe what the weather was doing. Describe the intensity of the storm as it bore down.
Prior to with just the watch out, we just had some light rain come through. As the warnings came out on our phone, we actually looked out the window. I said we were eating dinner. Really light rain at the time, and no sooner were we able to silence our phones did we start hearing the sirens go off. Rain picked up, wind started blowing extremely heavy. Our fire station's only about a quarter mile to the south of here. We looked out the window, saw a power line go down across the street, and then started seeing some roof debris fly by, so we knew we had some damage in the area. And before we were able to get out and find it on our own, the 911 call started coming in.
So even before the calls came in, you saw debris in the air from nearby damage, and that signaled to you that this was a serious situation.
Yeah, we knew we had something going on somewhere, at least some damage to buildings. Like I said, we saw some roof debris fly past the front of the station. So.
Yeah, do you see any rotation in the skies, anything that would indicate a tornado specifically?
No. We were kind of in the bay, trying to keep ourselves safe, waiting for it to pass over. So.
And we see quite a bit of activity here. We see a lot of heavy equipment. Just describe the work that is being done here in this subdivision.
Right now, we're trying to get in there with the residents, make sure they're safe, make sure they can get some of their personal belongings out of there. Right now, the noise you hear behind us, we got Public Works clearing some debris and a tree out from the garage area so the residents can get their car out. Obviously, that helps them find some shelter for the night. So the association behind us has their roofing company on scene already. There was a tree that went through the roof behind us. No injury, safe and accounted for. So.
And that is the most important thing. Mike Pierce, thank you so much. Battalion Chief with the Huntley Fire Department, obviously the department dealing with that, as well as public works with the situation in this particular subdivision. Again, injury in particular with two apartment buildings behind me, remarkable the damage that's sustained to the structures. But we've got 8 families or so displaced at this time, injuries, but power outages, as you heard the chief there talk about, downtowns in this area. So we've got residents in the dark doing quite a bit of work in this subdivision for the next several hours. That's the latest in the part of Huntley. We're going to send it back to you now.
Eric, yes, we're just minutes away from sun setting for everyone. We're talking about 8,700 customers, according to comment, right now without power. So when the sun does set, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. Some of the people's homes are open. Take a live look at Air Airport the storm. Usually you can see the rainbows and you can see the sunset. This is happening live right now here today. You know that the service stopped at O'Hare in the port as we look at the sun down those coffee cumulus. I don't learn from Greg today.
This is a much different kind of that we were looking at just an hour and a half ago or so.
Nimbus, they're still so they got the Nimbus on.
Okay.
But the good news for everybody now is that is, first of all, just an absolutely stunning, especially with like the sunset colors that are highlighting the top half of those clouds. The good news is no active severe weather warnings, to the exception of this flood warning that continues due to all the rainfall, but no severe thunderstorm warnings, no tornado warnings in the area, and the watch that we have out for the area is getting tripped up. Now, we're still watching these. These are exactly what you saw out over Lake Michigan. These are the ones you're looking at, but there are still a couple of pock marks here off to the south as the radar highlights them. We have to watch. So, good news, tornado watch has been tripped out of Cook County. Cook County, we are officially in the clear. Extreme western portions, or eastern, I'm sorry, of Will County and extreme western portions of Lake County in Indiana still do have that tornado until 10 o'clock. It's probably going to expire before 10 o'clock. Will's probably going to get trimmed out of it within about the next hour. Same deal with Kankakee County, but we can't rule it out just because of how much is still in the atmosphere. We were talking earlier about that track from Burr Ridge about Midway. I was in on the time frame of that. And I'm going to stop the track. It's really hard to tell. It kind of put it in full motion. We'll track that rotation. So here you can pick it up with your eye, right about here, out in Burr Ridge, off to the south of Hinsdale. This was shortly after 6 o'clock, and we watched this thing march up across countryside. Right, we got crews there. This is exactly the spot that we're seeing damage. So we know it was confirmed on the ground. On to the western side of Cicero. Now, this is where it's falling apart a little bit in terms of looking at the velocity data. Just off to the north and northwest of Midway. So, taking kind of the most conservative that's somewhere between about 5 and 7 miles, that is very likely, if not on the ground, popping up and down off of the ground over the course of about 20 or so minutes. Now, from the that we've seen so far, and Cheryl Scott looked at this earlier, again, this is a very scientific process. This is not just go out there and kind of put your hands on your hips and look around and assign it a number. These numbers are derived off of wind tunnel testings on the materials that they build houses. There's degrees of damage that they go through, right down to the shingle level, to the stud level, to just about anything that a home is built out of. They've tested them, they've wind tunnel tested them under the speed. So again, this is a very scientific process that certainly could do thoroughly tomorrow. What we can't do is just kind of estimate because we've seen so many of these generally where the wind speed would be. And as Cheryl said, and I completely agree with her, we're somewhere in this EF1, EF2 range. Say probably 100 miles per hour at least out of these, if not upwards, getting maybe 120. That's in the moderate to considerable damage range. When you start seeing, as we've seen in video, roofs peeled off of houses and stuff, certainly up around the Huntley area where we saw some of that damage. We saw those roofs peeled off. In Hills, same type of deal with the chopper footage we saw up there. They're going to be somewhere in that EF2 high-end EF1 range, and then probably a little bit lower as you get closer down to the Burr Ridge one that we talked about, that the structure on over to shopping carts. But again, the crews will get on the ground. If they find even an ounce of EF2 data, then it gets bumped to the highest wind speed that will be observed in that tornado. So that's why they really have to get down to the street. We were doing actually put out damage and see what was done. That's surveying, and with the number of tornadoes we saw, at least 8 or 9, we're probably going to be in this for a couple of days, if not until the middle of next week. Back over to you guys.
It'll be a busy night. Greg, one thing I wanted to talk about again was we can't lose sight of the fact that at one point both Chicago airports were under a tornado alert. At O'Hare, they're dealing with 388 cancellations, about 26 minutes delays for flights that might be able to get off the ground. But this was earlier. People here were waiting on flights downstairs.
We know one of the anchors was at O'Hare, and he had been there maybe 2 or 3 hours trying to get out He finally made it out, and he did text us that he did land his destination. So
he was able to get out through a window.
Right, and actually, part of this video, he may have sent it to us because he was waiting long for a trip that he was taking, a last-minute trip. And there was a long delay. My sister barely made it in from out of town. We had been texting her for all morning. She got an earlier flight because of the weather, and thank God she landed at about 5:45, I think, somewhere around there. And we're all just grateful because you could still, like, the flights were canceled.
Right.
Many flights were canceled, and this is a very busy time of the year. Although the holiday is over, a lot of people still extended their vacation to this week as well. So
it was a very good place to be when a tornado warning gets issued, though. Like, if I could choose,
it's a bunker down there.
It is, yeah.
That's true, right?
If I could choose places, I would choose an industrial type building, a school, an airport, something like that, because they have, you know, tornado safe rooms, and they all kind of corral you to them. And the good news about that, from a meteorological standpoint, you mentioned, Liz, that at one point both airports warned. At one point, we were looking at the webcams that are on both of the airports, and we were getting reports from the tower and stuff like that, whether or not the tornado was on the ground. And that's very useful when all we have is radar data other than to go off of.
And this is some cell phone video taken from the parking lot, I believe, there, where you were seeing following social media at that point, waiting for people who were inside O'Hare to send us video. Is this, Greg, was that a funnel? There's that wall cloud.
this is the live. This is the
Cloud
live
wall?
picture
Wall
again.
Wall cloud. That was at least a wall, yeah.
Yeah, and now we're looking at a live picture again at that sunset. And you talked about that's bad to be when there is a tornado. From the sea terminal at O'Hare, you have to go downstairs and go through. That is one of the areas where people congregate when you have some type of tornado warning, because that is considered to be a safe space. But right now, back live pictures at Indian Head Park. Chopper 7 HD is back in the air. Time it was down because of intermittent weather, but now we're here at Indian Head Park where cleared. You can see the ground is wet, and we're taking a look at some of the damage here area and some of the rooftops that had some. You can see some of the police cars and some emergency vehicles. The streets have been shut down. You can see perhaps because there's debris in the streets. Power lines are down in some areas. Trees are down in a lot of areas. ComEd confirming that at least 8,700 customers are without power at this hour at 8:30. I think we've been on the air for about 3 hours straight talking about tornado and tornado warnings. So, but you can see the sun is shining, and a lot of emergency vehicles here in Indian Head Park right now.
So our crews are out over the area in 3 different counties trying to get an assessment of some of the damage right now. ComEd is working to get power back onto 8,700 customers. We're going to leave you here on the digital stream. You can join us on E7 tonight at 10. We'll be working to bring you the scope of what happened there.
Thanks for joining us for now. Be safe, everybody. We'll see you at 10 on ABC7. Good night.